What's up guys, Matt the Riff Master. Today we're going to be discussing the difference between live tone and album tone. So guys, this is a topic that I thought would be really cool to talk about and to discuss with you guys, and that is live tone versus album tone. Okay, so if you don't know what that means when I say that, I'm going to explain. So, yeah, live tone versus album tone. Meaning, if you take an example, say, you're playing a live show, you're going through a PA, and, you've got your sound, and that's not going to be the sound that you get when you record, like for an album, okay? So that's why, a lot of people say, I want this tone, I want this tone. But the truth is, the tone that you hear from your amp, for example, this is probably like the best way I could explain it, is what you hear in the room when you're playing isn't the sound that you're going to get when you record your guitar. So when you're mic'd up and you're recording, if you're doing an album or doing anything, recording any kind of guitar, the sound that you hear in the room is not going to be what you hear recorded. So this is something that I learned back when I was at music college, and it's always stuck with me, even when I wasn't recording or doing any of this YouTube stuff. It always stuck with me. And here's the story. I remember I was in the studio, I was in the little recording booth bit, and I had the amp, and I got such a sick tone from the amp, and I was recording, and I came out and I listened back and I was like, oh, okay, sounds a bit different. And the guy that was there, he was just like, you need to adjust the settings on the amp to accommodate, your recording and what it is you're recording, okay? So what I had to do, because the sound I had sounded good. To my ears in the room, it sounded good, but when it's traveling through that mic, it's going into a mix, it didn't sound so good. Okay, so that's why there's a difference between a live tone and a recorded tone. And so what I had to do is I had to adjust the settings on the amp to kind of get the sound that I wanted once the sound had traveled through the microphone, into the mix and all that kind of stuff. And it always stuck with me, and I always get that now, and I always think about it now when I'm doing anything. If I'm recording an original song or if I'm doing a cover, I'll be playing and just jamming, warming up, and the tone I'll hear, I'll give it a try, see how it sounds in the mix, but chances are most of the time you have to get down by the amp and adjust the settings, and you'll naturally hear what you need more of or less of. So you might listen to it back and think, oh, okay, so for this mix I'm going to need more top end, little less bottom end, or more bottom end, little less top end, more mids, less mids, all that kind of stuff. And so that's what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to just sit and tweak around until you get a tone that you want, that you're happy with, listening to it and recording, but a tone that you're going to be happy with as well once you've recorded it and it's been, put down in the mix to a song or a cover or whatever it is that you're doing. So that being said, we can kind of move on to the topic of, when people say, oh, for a metal sound, take all the fucking mids out. Okay, that's been going around for a long time, scoop the mids, yeah. It's chunky, it's tight, if you're just, if you're jamming and you're hearing the amp in the same room. But things like that, when it comes to recording, they don't work so good, okay? Because you lose the guitars. The guitars don't stand out, and you're not going to be hearing all that delicious riffy goodness because you've scooped the mids out, and it's just not going to sit, and you're not going to hear it very well. So always remember that too. For all those of you that love to scoop the mids, that's cool, but when it comes to a mix and recording, that's not so cool. And also touching on, different tones, it can depend on what guitar you're using. Depending on what guitar you use, you have to do different things to the amp. Some guitars sound brighter, so you kind of want to adjust that with the amp to kind of balance it out and make it all sound good. So loads of things like that. Loads of things contribute to it, but the final kind of conclusion is that, your live tone is never going to be the same as your recorded tone. And that's cool. I mean, you'll get close, yeah. But I've had it before in the beginning. I'll be playing through my amp and I'll think, wow, this tone sounds great. I record it and I think, oh, that doesn't sound so great. And I was thinking like, well, what's going on? Why can't I hear what I'm hearing? Why doesn't it sound like that? And that's because it's just the way it is. You have to adjust your amp and your settings when you're recording in order to make the guitars stand out, which is what we want, because we want people to hear the guitars. We don't want them to just be sat in the back and sound muddy and not very good. You want to make them pop, and you want to make it sound as close to the tone that you want and make it the best that it can be. And my final point on this topic comes back round to the whole, I want this album tone. I want this tone. This tone. When it comes to being on an album, the guitar tone you hear isn't kind of how it started out, if that makes sense. It's been mixed, processed, all that kind of stuff. And it never started out that way. So you can never listen to an album and think, yeah, I want that tone, because, yeah, it takes a lot to get that. Because it's, like I said, it's going through a lot of stuff, a lot of mixing, a lot of nerdy, technical wizardry, and it's never going to be, the tone is what you hear in the room. That makes sense. So it is a lot harder to, get an album tone, if that's what you want, an album tone. Because it just won't happen. You could get close, but yeah, your live sound, what you're hearing in the room with your own ears, is always going to be different to when you record the guitar. Like I said, you could probably get close to what you're hearing in your lugos, but it will take some adjusting on the amp, some mic placement, all that kind of stuff, and you will get close, but just always remember that it's never going to be the same. Album tone, live tone, it's always going to be different. So guys, I just wanted to share this cool little subject with you, something that I've always kept in the top of my mind, or the front of my mind, when it comes to playing guitar and recording, because I've been through it, like I mentioned when I was at college, and when I started doing YouTube stuff, it's kind of like, well, why is it sounding different once I've recorded it? This is unacceptable. Because obviously you think what you're hearing as it's coming out, and then wherever you put the microphone, that's going to affect the sound and the tone that's being recorded, because it's going to have more low end, more high end, it's going to be this, that and the other. So it's a tricky, finicky little mofo. But I think once you've done it a few times, you kind of get used to it, and you're able to work out what's best to do to get the tone that you want for whatever it is you're doing, whatever song you're playing, or genre, or whatever it is. So guys, as always, in the comments, give me your thoughts on this subject. If you've had any kind of experiences like that with recording, where you've had a shit hot guitar tone, but then recorded in the mix, it was not so great, and you had to adjust it, and it gets frustrating, we all know. So comment down below, let me know your stories and all the fun times you've had with that. If you're new, hit that subscribe button, and hit the like button, and share it, and go follow me, all that cool stuff. And as always, rock out, be awesome, and I will see you all very soon. See ya!